Hey guys, welcome to another week of Techcast. I'm 9.
I'm 4.
I'm 2.
And today, I'm not exaggerating that it was a jam-packed week full of tech news from all across the world. It was a huge week, and I'm not even exaggerating that. And because of that, we're making this Techcast a little special. We're making it a 45-minute special Techcast. I could not, and I really tried to contain everything in 30 minutes. I once you see the stories, once I give you the links, you're gonna realize does the list end. So let's not waste any time right now.
Also, before we do get into it, if you want, go ahead and check us out on social media at the 429 Podcast on pretty much any social platform. You can also see us at the 429podcast.com.
Yes, thank you for. So let's get on with the news. First things first, we're talking about an old friend, Boston Dynamics. They're in the news again. A Ford favorite. Apparently, Hyundai is in the talks of buying them out.
Oh, man.
So the deal is that the Korean automaker Hyundai will be the third company in the last 7 years to own Boston Dynamics. It's currently owned by SoftBank Group, and before that, it was owned by Google. So these guys, we talked about Boston Dynamics before.
Interesting.
They're known for the robotics. Their biggest seller right now is I think called the Spot, that little dog thing, right? Since they've been bought by SoftBank, they've been trying to basically commercialize their little robot now, trying to fit it in applications like industrial, warehousing, and stuff like that. And he's doing good, but it seems like Hyundai has his eyes on the prize now. Hyundai is not a stranger to the automated robotic world. They're really been pushing boundaries. They're in October of last year, they said that they're trying to invest $41 trillion in the future mobilization technology by 2025. So they got a lot of money on this. What do you guys think about this?
That's awesome.
It's actually surprising. It's such an odd thing. Hyundai. I never would have thought that they'd be going after a robots company like that.
No. Hyundai is really. If another one that's a close competitors and that's also big in robotic is Honda. I don't know if you've seen Honda's robotics division.
No, I had no idea.
They're really big. They're one of the big players in the robotic division. They're always trying to produce. Right now, they're trying to produce more like humanoids robotics, right? But they're in there too, and they're really making strides in that. What do you think, too? What do you think about this?
No, I think it's awesome. I'm excited to see what Hyundai decides to do with it, but I think this is an interesting combination. And so we'll just have to wait and see like what really comes out of it. I mean, maybe Honda is the one that comes with the first Transformer car. I don't know, right? But
you gotta also remember that its current owner SoftBank, right? It has his hand in the robotics, but with Hyundai's current vision and future plans that they're trying to go with, right? It's more in line with what I think Boston Dynamics' original goals and visions are, right? Mm-hmm. SoftBank is trying to commercialize it, trying to make this a product they can sell now.
Is Hyundai also a Japanese company? Are they both Hyundai and Honda?
Korean.
Oh, Korean. Okay.
They're Korean.
I was gonna say because if they were both Japanese, dang. I mean, I knew that Japan was very advanced in terms of like the robotics and whatnot, so that wouldn't have surprised me as much.
Oh yeah, of course.
The Korean's probably about the same. So
Korean's about the same. They're really, like I said, Hyundai is really has been showing a very sharp increase in automatic vehicles, technology, and robotics in just the past year. So it's not surprising that you're like kind of surprised about this kind of news. Very recently, I would say since September of last year, they've been really trying to go that route. I think they see a future there for them, and it makes sense with Tesla automatics programs, and you have Ford who also trying to go on that stride. It makes sense, and they're trying not to fall behind. So exciting news. Right now it's in the talk, so no official confirmation, but we'll see. Very exciting stuff.
Yes, it is.
Let's go to the next one. And this one, you guys may find it more interesting than most, but Python creator joins Microsoft.
Oh man.
Python what joins Microsoft?
Python creator. The guy who created
Ben Rosso?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Ben Rosso. The creator of the Python programming language has announced that he's unretired and joined Microsoft Development Division.
Yeah, I was gonna say he was retired. All he really did was maintain the Python repo from time to time, but that's about it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So if you guys don't know him, he's the creator of Python, which if our audience don't know, it's a programming language, one of the big ones, very popular with beginners. This is syntax is very user friendly, it's very nice to work with, easy to understand visually. This guy created it. He was last employed by Dropbox, and he retired October of last year after 6.5 years with the company.
Nice.
But clearly that retirement wasn't meant to last. And he
got bored.
He got bored. He got bored. Some of these
he was bored in the house. He was in the house bored.
Exactly. these creators, these guys, they have their minds always working. They're you can't stop the gears in their heads. And after even a year was too much for him, and he had to come back. He said he's going to try to make Python better for sure, and not just on Windows, for everyone. So what do you guys think? This is a pretty big news.
I mean, it's interesting for sure. I think it's pretty cool. Like, you have a couple programming languages coming out of Microsoft, right? You like C#, I think that's managed by them. You got F#, that's managed by them. You have other stuff like Microsoft SQL. I think that's paid for service, but...
Look, and Microsoft's even coming out with their own quantum computing language, too. So I wouldn't be surprised if Van Rossum is heading towards that to make quantum computing like the next frontier, but super easy to get on.
Yeah, he could. There's a lot they could do with this guy. He's very smart, obviously. Python is, probably the most, or one of the most popular languages right now. I mean, it's used pretty much in like every field that exists.
Dude, as a data-heavy dude, I have to say, like, Python's the go-to for anything data-related, right? So, like, well, I'm excited to see what comes out of this, but I think Microsoft's going to do well.
Yeah, I agree.
Great acquisition for him.
Yeah, this guy is a a genius. He worked on what Python was back in 1989. He's worked in the United States Institute of Standard and Technology in the mid-90s and worked in various companies, and even worked at Google from 2010 to 2012, which I think is a very pinnacle moment for Google, since that's...
I think he was on the Go team when he was there, so that explains why Go is a really good language too.
Yeah. So he's been working on... he worked in Google also on the App Engine too. So this guy's been making strides. Of course, he's targeted as the Python creator, but he has done many accomplishments throughout his year. And it makes sense that this guy just doesn't... The retirement life is just not for him. It wasn't going to last, and he even knew that. So it was just big things. Just out of nowhere, he's like, just joining Microsoft, and it kind of threw storms. I'm surprised you guys didn't hear about this.
I had no idea.
Yeah, no clue, honestly.
Telling you, big news this week, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. So let's move on. So let's calm down a little bit. Let's go to a little bit more in the consumer range, right? And we're talking... Sadly, the big losers of the current pandemic, movie theaters. So, AMC is trying to change their luck, and they're launching a new program, theater rental.
Oh yeah, I've seen this.
So if you've seen this, then you may have heard of their beta phase.
$100 to rent an entire movie theater?
$100 to rent an entire movie theater, up to 20 people. Masks are required. The $100 is for any particular AMC selective movies, so you can pretty much have a range of movies from 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and stuff like that.
Wait, how many movies?
It's $100 for one movie, one showing, right? But it's up to 20 people. So if you get 20 friends, you split it. That comes down to cost significantly, right?
Well, 9. I think we're gonna still keep movie night in my basement because we've been to 7 movies.
I mean, if you ever had that dream of like just having your home movie theater to yourself, this is the time to really go out and do this. I mean,
fun fact though, I will throw a fun fact here because I have actually experienced this before.
Oh, really?
So when me and 5 buddies of mine or 4 buddies of mine went to go see Hangover 3 when it came out in theaters, right?
Yeah.
We went during the school day on a Wednesday because it was like a half day, so we were free the rest of the day.
Yeah.
So we went on a Wednesday to a movie theater by my house, and we get into the theater. And it was completely empty. We had the whole theater to ourselves for that entire showing, right?
I mean, it's Tuesday.
It was probably the most fun we've ever had, just because like we could yell, we could scream, we could shout. We were kids then, so
let it all out.
We were kids then too, so obviously a food fight ensued at some point, right? But dude, it was a lot of fun. And if anyone gets the chance to actually do this, it's definitely worth your while. I would say go.
Highly recommend it. I've been hearing stuff from the community that, like, depending on the movie theater you're in, if it's like a small theater, right? They might even let you like bring in some of the movies You know, like they can, if they have the hookup equipment allowed to them, you can bring in the movie and let you play that. Some guys are even trying to do talks of maybe doing like some kind of game night with the projector.
Guys, can you imagine Smash Night on a movie projector?
Oh,
That would be insane. Of course, that varies through theater. If you're, at a big town or a big city, it's not gonna fly. But if you're at a small theater, a small town, who knows? You may be in luck.
Yeah,
There's, like I said earlier, if you heard about this, because it was in beta phase for about 4 weeks, and the statistics from the beta phase has been really well. So, this program was launched just this past Tuesday. But they've been doing the beta phase for 4 weeks, and they had about 110K inquiries already. So it's already been a big success. And you got to remember, no significant marketing and no press announcement. They like soft, quiet launched this, and they got 110K inquiries in 4 weeks. That's insane. That's nutty. People say what you want, say how the industry is going for them. People still want a theater experience, and if you're willing to dish out the what's it called, the cash for it, which I must say the price is pretty good. You can get that experience easily. I will have to say though, there are some rules. Again, we're in pandemic time, so masks must be worn. You must have appropriate social distancing, right? It cannot be more than 20 people due to the restrictions right now.
Mm-hmm.
Outside, and here's a big one that a lot of people don't know: outside food and drinks are not permitted. So that's how they really get you.
Oh, I'm sure they're not.
They're not. But I mean, it makes sense. And of course, if you want to watch some of the newly really released films that just come out this month and last month, that's going to be an additional cost. That's going to start at $150 instead of $100. So if you don't mind watching a movie from 4 years ago, and I'm sure there's a couple of movies you probably haven't seen, this is really the chance to go through, especially if you have a group of 19 buddies with you. Highly recommended. But what do you think about this? I know we talked about in the past the movie industry is dying and stuff like that. Do you see this as a turnaround? What do you?
I mean, it could be, right? Like, I mean, personally, I really stopped going to movies all that often. I never, maybe once in a while I'd go if there's like a really big movie. But I think the last movie that I personally saw was Avengers. Was it Endgame? Or I can't remember the last one. Endgame.
Yeah, Endgame.
I think that was the last movie I saw in the theaters, and that was like, when did that come out? Like over a year ago at this point.
More than a year ago actually.
So I mean, really, I'm not a huge movie theater guy to begin with, but like, for $100 to get a whole theater, I mean, that's like a fun night that you can go out with your friends, get a whole theater, like, whatever. It's a good time. It's a good time.
It's a good time, especially during the pandemic. It's you need some sort of activity. This could be it. This could be it.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I have to say, I'm a big movie guy. No joke. In the turn of the year, before everything went the way it went, I was watching 3 movies in the theater a week.
Oh wow.
And it's because I was part of this like AMC program. Pretty much, if I went on a Tuesday, I would it would be like $5. So I would just watch movies, and I kind of pushed myself to watch new movies that I wouldn't watch because it was so cheap. And I was basically making like a review journal. I was like basically writing reviews for each journal. I got the idea from some guy, and it was a fun experience. But from the way it happened, that whole thing kind of just dropped the ball, and I haven't done it since. But who knows? It's a good thing. But let's move on. We got a lot of stories, and I'm not joking about that. So next one. I don't know if you guys heard about this one. This one has been a big blow to me, and I've been thinking about it since I heard it. But there are changes to the Google Photos policy.
I have heard about this. I actually heard about it yesterday.
So all good things must come to an end, sadly. And Google Photos have announced that they're ending their free unlimited storage June 1st, 2021.
Yeah,
Let me give you the details, right? If you didn't know, Google has been offering unlimited free photos backup in quote-unquote high quality for any participants who use their app. But after 5 years of doing so, it's I guess they got enough of your data. I don't know, but it's
definitely did.
It's time. It's time to pay up, and starting on June 1st of next year, any photos after that date would now start counting towards your initial 15 gig amount. And not only did this policy change towards photos, it has changed towards other storage mediums such as Google's worksheet documents and spreadsheets. So
there is a caveat.
How about Google Calendar though?
Google Calendar may not, but I'm not too sure. They haven't
Do you remember our friend built the database solution on Google Calendar? Do you remember that?
Yes.
Unlimited what is time? Time is infinite. Therefore, we have infinite storage.
Exactly.
But one thing to note about this is there is a caveat to this whole thing, and the caveat is that if you own a Google Pixel, you are actually not affected by this change.
Yes. So the deal was, if you guys remember, one of the biggest features of the first Google Pixel was that they stated that if you Google Pixels will have able to upload high quality photos, for life, right? That was the whole shebang. That was a whole big feature back then. They kind of changed that policy though. Initially, the deal was that original quality photos was for life. They reduced it to high quality to what it was now, but it's still unlimited. So if you have a Pixel, fret not, you will still get unlimited storage. There's no information if future Pixels will uphold that deal too. I really hope so, because that's a really big feature to have against other Androids and even the iPhone itself. But things are changing. What do you guys think? I'm truly saddened by this.
I mean, as a user of Google Photos, I'm pretty upset.
I'm pretty upset too. I'm a big
user. I don't use any of those, so it's not really going to affect me, to be honest.
It hurts me there, but I kind of saw this coming. I mean, there's no way that Google could really support all this. I think 9 is another story that I don't want to ruin yet, but something to do with Kubernetes and Docker, right? And so, a lot of these free storage options that we're used to seeing in the past can no longer really maintain themselves. So they have to do something at some point,
100%. It's just the way it goes. Like I said earlier, all good things must come to an end. If there's something, as internet servers you're experiencing right now that's free, and you're wondering how they're making money, trust me, they're not. And it's gonna come to an end. Of course, the way this is going right now, you still can use the unlimited storage up to June 1st. So if I were you, make backups. This is your time. Make backups. Use it as much as you can right now. And then once June 1st comes in, it is up to you if you want to pay to increase your storage size for future uploads or move on. That's all I can say. So let's move on. Build a NAS. The NAS is also a great idea, and I highly recommend it.
It's on my to-do list.
Let's go into our first medium-sized story. That's not a big story. Medium-sized story.
Medium. Wow.
Yeah, told you. Lots of news today. First thing first. This whole medium-sized story is going to be about YouTube. What?
You said first.
I'm a realist?
First, I'm the realist.
YouTube. YouTube has been in the news a lot this week, and mostly bad.
Mostly? That's an understatement.
But we'll go through it. So first story first. I know you guys know this. I know everyone on the internet knew this. But YouTube experienced a widespread technical problems.
This is your medium story? What the hell are you?
It was down for an hour and a half. All of YouTube globally. No one could play videos.
Globally, it was down. So if you were, so essentially, it was tweeted at 7:23 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. YouTube reported, if you're having trouble watching videos on YouTube right now, you're not alone. We're aware of the issue. We're working on it. It took them about 2 hours. And from then, Team YouTube said that their service was restored. So for 2 hours, YouTube was bad globally across the world.
Did they say
Poor
what
engineer.
It was?
What?
Did they say what it was?
So, reaching for a comment, Google's spokesperson said that they have no additional details about the outage. So right now, they're keeping their lips sealed about the whole thing.
It was definitely some junior engineer testing something in production. We already knew this. We already called it.
It's probably some edge case they haven't fixed yet, so they won't say anything because it might happen again.
It's quite possible. The stories and the theories can be endless when it comes to a server as big and as expensive as YouTube. We're talking about global wide service that it's used constantly.
And it's so funny, right? How would you even figure out what caused that problem? Think about how many pieces YouTube must have.
It's insane. You wouldn't be able to. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. You're gonna have to go through every single hay and realize what the hell is going on and see what's out of place.
They have here is that, all of YouTube stuff is located in San Bruno, California, right? They have other mini headquarters all over the world, but it's not like Google, where Google has main headquarters in almost every major city in the world at this point, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like YouTube is very isolated into one specific location, so it's still easier to maintain. But like you guys said, it's a huge program. It's a huge system. It'll take them time to figure everything out.
100%. It's insane. I don't know how to explain this. YouTube had an outage last year. I don't know if you guys remembered it, but it wasn't as long. I think it was like 45 minutes or in half an hour. It was relatively quick. They patched it. I think half an hour most. It was fixed. But for this long and for this massive, like I remember last year, it wasn't. I think it was only United States based. This was global, and for 2 hours.
You know what it is? Here's the problem, right? YouTube is tough because you have so much, like, I guess, footage, and it just, the amount of like storage it must take to host all of the videos on YouTube is absolutely astonishing, right? So even if they have maybe one redundancy where you have to replicate almost like everything, right? If your redundancy also goes down or you lose access to your redundancy, like, I don't think there's any like third or fourth backups for YouTube like there might be for other systems that don't have all that data.
100%.
I wonder if YouTube has a QA server. I'd be really intrigued to play.
They have to. Well, anyway, that's YouTube. Well, hopefully they fix that little the little glitch. We'll call it a little glitch for now, and things will be fine. But YouTube's not really good yet, and there's another story that came out about them. Some may say bad, but a lot of people said good. Just not for Google's sake, and that's YouTube canceled Rewind this year.
Oh, I saw that, yeah.
So YouTube has officially has canceled their annual end of the year tribute to the creators, trends, and moments that usually define the platform throughout the year. And they have said that it will not happen this year. They said the company issued a statement acknowledging that 2020 has been very different, and they added that it didn't feel right to carry on as if it didn't. In other words, 2020 was just too much, and
we just want to forget it.
Essentially, a lot, like they said, they want to move on.
Look, everyone hates YouTube Rewind anyway. I'm not even gonna go there. As long as
2016
PewDiePie
is
is
the last
making,
good Rewind. Changed my mind.
as long as PewDiePie is making a Rewind, I don't really care what YouTube's doing.
It's a lot of people agree with you too. The community out feedback was a mix of celebration, partying, and who cares.
Yeah, basically, I'm in the who cares aisle.
Yeah, so I don't know if YouTube was expecting that sort of reaction. Maybe they were. Maybe this is just a cover up because they felt like they want to get trash talked or get the most disliked video of the year again. So they just use 2020 as a cover up. Who knows? But it's not happening. This is also the first time that Rewind won't happen since YouTube actually started the tradition back in 2010. So it almost reached 10 years in a row. Sadly, it did not. They did not say if it will return for 2021. Maybe this is the end of Rewind forever. We don't know.
You're right, Nine. I think they might just be sick of getting the most disliked video on their own platform.
I mean, hey. That means PewDiePie has won the war, and we can all celebrate.
At least he won a war, because he didn't win the last war.
Sadly. He didn't win the T-Series war, so...
He didn't win the T-Series war, but, he won a war. We'll see. Maybe PewDiePie would even follow the trend. Maybe he even says 2020 is too much. Who knows? A lot of people would actually be saddened by that news if he does this or that. But again, he has no responsibility. If anything, PewDiePie's Rewind was always a direct reaction to YouTube's Rewind. But if YouTube's Rewind's not happening, then there's nothing really to go by.
That's true. You're right.
So,
oof.
Maybe there won't be a PewDiePie Rewind. Maybe we need the evil for the good to come in.
Maybe.
But next story. Let's move on.
Let's move on. Let's go to, I guess, somewhat good news. And Google's giving out free stuff.
Again?
Kind of.
Where? When?
So, too late. It's too late for you.
Damn it.
But Google was giving out free Stadia Premiere to YouTube Premiere members.
Oh, I was not a member anyway, so.
So you weren't a member anyway, so don't worry. And if you don't know what Stadia is, we talked about this before. It's a streaming service, a cloud gaming streaming service. To essentially you pay the membership. You can then download games through their Google's cloud service and basically play their games on any platform that pretty much supports an application. iPhone, tablets, your web browser. Boom, you can play it. No longer do you need a dedicated machine to run this. It's all run by Google servers and through streaming. Some people hate it. I should say most people hate it. So it's not
pretty accurate.
It's not doing very well, and you can kind of see they're really trying. So in order to drum up interest, they gave out their Stadia Premiere. If you don't know what Stadia Premiere is, it's their little bundle that comes with I think a month of Stadia. There's their Stadia game control and Chromecast Ultimate. So pretty good stuff for free. I gotta say. I mean, a free controller is pretty good. I would take it. Pretty much if you have
free, anything free,
it's free.
That's a deal.
I'm not gonna lie. When I heard about this, I try to see if I can still get in. Sadly,
what YouTube Premiere is though for us idiots.
So YouTube Premiere, right? Many people don't have it, so this is probably why they decided to do this. But YouTube Premiere is YouTube's premium membership thing. It basically allows you to download videos offline. So you know how Spotify Premieres lets you download songs for offline viewing? Same feature is locked behind YouTube Premiere. Lets you basically download any video on YouTube and through your internal storage, and you can watch it offline anytime. For some people, that's actually a pretty good feature.
You're missing something here.
Oh, what am I missing? Also?
Background playing. Come on, you can close the app and keep your videos going.
Oh yeah, the reason I forgot about that one is because it's kind of supported in other ways. You can kind of get that feature
in the web browser. Just say it.
Nine. Shut up.
And other methods. So that's why I kind of forgot it.
Google's always listening.
It's a pain in the neck to do that though. Like you gotta go. You gotta like.
Yeah, it's not natively supported. It's a workaround, and every time a workaround is found, Google kind of like nips it in the butt. So that's how it is. But yeah, like Forrest said, that's another feature. But it was free. You had to be a member. Sadly, since November 6th. After that, that's pretty much how they determine their pools. It's no longer available. Part of this could be because the first anniversary Stadia is also coming up, so this could also be kind of a in part celebration of that time.
They were just trying to get rid of inventory.
I think they were trying to jump up interest. Nothing drums up marketing like a free stuff. That always gets everyone's eyes peeling. It got me looking at Stadia, so it kind of worked. Sadly, it couldn't hook me in unless they gave it to me for free. That's how I am. But that's it. We're running out of time. We got about a couple minutes left, right? 20 minutes left. So now it's time to do our 2 big stories. And we got one hidden surprise story at the end. First big story. You may have not heard, but there was a couple big launches this week.
Yep.
If you're a gamer, you definitely know what I'm talking about. And if you're not, well, let me explain.
Maybe. I don't know.
First big story. Basically, the launches of PlayStation 5 and Xbox X has been out. And, well, it's been really tough to get one.
I've seen.
Not surprising.
Essentially, we're talking about almost impossible to get it if you didn't pre-order back in the day. So
wait, 9, was it easier to get it? Would it be easier to get a PS5 or Xbox Series X or an RTX 3080? Which would be easier to get right now?
Ooh, that's a good answer. I would say
definitely the PS and Xbox.
Yeah, I would say the PS5, just because I think I saw a couple of times it went on stock. I don't think I ever saw a 380 or 370 in stock ever.
I haven't seen 380 on stock, so
let me. I got a couple of news stories. They're pretty much the same idea, right? But they all kind of tie in the idea that how difficult it's been for a lot of gamers to get hands on their Xbox Series X and their PS5. So one big thing is Best Buy was on the news, and they basically said that they won't have any PS5s or Xbox Series X in store until 2021. So in other words, don't even come to our stores. We won't even have it in stock in our inventory. They basically said that if you want the console, you're gonna have to try it online, and there's no guarantees in that. So this year has been kind of weird in terms of console generation. I don't know if you guys remember previous big console generations: the Xbox 360, the PS3, the PS4, the Xbox X, Xbox One. My bad. They always had a couple. You always saw a couple footage of people, camping in front of the stores, waiting until the clock struck midnight, getting the first console, and being like, I was the first of my.
But this is one of those years, this is one of those years where first supply chains all over the world, unless you're Amazon, was completely destroyed. Right?
Yeah. That was a big one.
People had no workers for at least 3 to 6 months of the year, depending on your country that you're located in, and it's hard to get everything done. So there's that. So the manufacturing was down, supply chains were down. Now due to the pandemic and a lot of rules across multiple countries in the world, it's kind of hard to even camp out at night without being 6 feet apart. Can you imagine everyone camping outside of Best Buy to get a PS5?
That would be miles long.
The whole parking lot will be filled in about 3 seconds, right? Like, if you had to be 6 feet apart. So, no way that was going to work out. This has just been one of those strange years for, like, a business perspective where it's kind of very tough to actually do anything. So, it's brutal, but, you know, it is what it is.
I mean, they even said this. So Best Buy even said this means no need to camp out at our local store. Check back up on bestbuy.com without leaving your home. Even Sony has strongly discouraged eager gamers from lining outside stores, as they said it can provide a heightened COVID risks and ongoing pandemic. So they understand the risks. They understand, you know, gamers are willing to do anything it takes. There's no other more passionate group of people than gamers, and with a console release. So they knew what was coming up. They released. They told everyone, "Hey guys, stay home. Don't even think about coming here."
Don't think about it.
Get out of here. Go to your bestbuy.com and get it. And sadly, it's been a nightmare to get one. And this doesn't go just for the PS5. The Xbox Series S and X has also been notoriously difficult to get. Most stores don't even have this console in stock. Some say they're going to have it on Black Friday, not confirming it. Some of them have popped in throughout the week, like just suddenly like, hey, we're going to have a couple of them at like 10 minutes, and then they're gone in like a second. Some stores, even like Target, I'm not even sure they're going to have in stock for Black Friday. They're like, maybe.
Well, Target ever got it in stock, to be honest with you.
Maybe not. Honestly, it's insane. And of course, when something as valuable and as demanding as something like this, the resale market is on fire.
Yeah, it is.
Of course.
$800, $900, $1,000, Xbox, PS5s everywhere.
Exactly.
1,000, bro. You're looking at 2,000 to 3,000. I think I saw one PS5 for $20,000 listed on the first day.
There was a couple listed for $5,000, $1,000. It's insane. Once again, I must encourage people who are listening, do not fall for these scalpers. You know, as much as you think you want a PS5 or an Xbox Series X, just wait. It will come to you. Don't. That's exactly what they want you to do. It's not worth it. I guarantee you, 100%, it's not worth paying $1,000 for the Xbox Series X. No matter those 4K textures. Those textures will come. Don't worry.
Especially if you're the guy who doesn't have a 4K TV but bought the Xbox Series X to take the 4K values in, you have honestly no effect whatsoever. So please just wait.
And let's be honest, like, they're great consoles, right? I personally don't have a real preference of one over the other. But the game lineups are not there yet. You know, the games, there's only a couple. There's some good gems like Spider-Man that released. But honestly, if not even a Spider-Man.
But even then, from what I've heard about that game, Spider-Man Morales you're referring to, right? That game's only about an hour to an hour and a half long.
It's it's 5 hours, but you can kind of stretch that to like 10 hours because there's like side things. But yeah, it's a definitely a shorter game than the average AAA game. Definitely.
Life hack. Go to Best Buy at 8 a.m., just play the whole game while you're there, and then go home.
Or just wait till next year until it's on sale like I will do.
Or that. But you play it for free at Best Buy.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
You know, like.
So also Amazon has also been in the news, and Amazon has been a little bit even more, I guess, in dealing with bad news to gamers because they even announced that their Xbox Series X pre-orders may not arrive until December 31st.
Oh man!
Nothing hurts a gamer more than looking at their Amazon thing and seeing December 31st written on. That's got to be hard.
Supply chain masters have fallen. What the heck?
Take back what I said earlier this podcast episodes. Even Amazon supply chain is a complete piece of shit now.
No. I will defend. They say latest. So it could be sooner. They could be just providing themselves some comfort room in case, you know, one supply chain falls. That happens, you know. They're not saying...
Or Jeff Bezos is just using that money to go to Mars, you know? One or the other.
Going to Mars before the outcry destroys them. But yeah, it's not good news. They're warning this. Right now, it's only for Xbox Series X. Amazon's warning it. But some customers have complained that they're getting similar alerts and warnings for their PS5 orders. So, give or take. So, it has been pretty hard. And not to mention, even Sony has said upfront on their website that there are going to be pretty much no PS5 in stock during the launch day. And there wasn't. There really wasn't. And the launch day was yesterday of this time of this recording. There were pretty much none. I looked around just because I was an eager guy, just trying to see if it was possible for me to get one. No way, Jose. It was literally impossible. To give you an idea of how difficult it is to get one, in Japan, where these things are coming from, right? They had a lottery system for you to get one.
Oh,
If you
man.
won the lottery system, you won the prize of being able to the opportunity to buy one.
That's the stupidest thing. I've heard that thing about Yeezys also, when Kanye dropped the Yeezys at Adidas and every time, and you get a lottery system so that you can actually buy it for regular price.
Exactly.
That's the stupidest shit I've ever heard.
That's the type of demand we're dealing with, and that's the type of supply we're dealing with. It is almost non-existent. And I kind of saw this coming. With the how the pandemic has really to alluded to, the supply chain has pretty much just fallen apart due to the pandemic and everything, and we're still kind of recovering from that. Not to mention these are highly demanding consoles. They're still relatively new. It's gonna be a while. I expect you probably won't see a return to stock until maybe March of next year, at earliest. Probably maybe most likely summer we'll get full stabilization on supplies. But that's the news for consoles. Kind of sad if you're out there listening and you couldn't hold your PS5, your Xbox Series things. Hold on tight, soldier. You'll get yours soon. And if you're lucky enough to get one, congrats. You're the diamond in the rough. So let's move on to our last big story. And I think 2 knows exactly what's the last big story.
Let's see it.
Let's just say it's it's one of my favorites. The Apple event.
Oh, I know
The
nothing
Apple
about
event.
this.
You really don't?
No, I know nothing about this.
Well, let me educate you then for
Me and Nine actually watched it live on our stream, so
Let me educate you this then for because the Apple event was kind of a
garbage.
I wouldn't say that. It was something, and we're still getting kind of news from it, and there's a lot to talk about. So, first things first, before we even talk about the Apple event, let's talk about the events leading up to the Apple event. So, a few days before the Apple event, when it was pretty much announced that the event was going to be about their new silicon chips, a lot of major app makers have already said that they're not gonna offer initial support for Apple Silicon. These companies are Facebook, Google, and even Candy Crush Saga for some reason.
People still play that game?
Surprisingly, as essentially their lineups of families of services. So Google Calendar, Google Photos, Facebook's Oculus, Facebook WhatsApp. They're pretty much not going to have a Silicon native app on launch, right? This doesn't mean they're not going to come out with eventually, but they're basically saying that, hey, we're going to basically just use our iPad versions of our apps and use that. So that's pretty much how it is. So a lot of people kind of turn this as like, oh, Apple's not going to get real support. Apple's going to probably, fall apart. They really need that third-party support.
They don't.
Yeah, well, kind of not. It's still going to be there. I think a lot of people don't realize that it's still going to be there because of the way the architecture is pretty much one-to-one to the same chips used in the iPads and the iPhones, right? You can now basically run iPads and iPhone apps natively on your new Mac Silicon chips. So this means you can literally play games like Among Us that is only available on the iPad and the iPhone on your new MacBook easily, no problems. That also means that any iPad or iPhone application available on the App Store will work instantly day one on your new MacBook. So, and it's just going to say on the top, designed for iPad, not verified for Mac OS. So you kind of get an idea that if it doesn't work, 100% smooth or it doesn't work natively, you know what you're getting yourself into. But what do you guys think about this?
I mean, it's pretty cool.
It's garbage. If you want my legitimate opinion, first of all, they only announced the new chip for the 13-inch MacBook Pro.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Don't worry, we'll get to that. We'll get to those stories too. But what do you guys think about the initial feedback with developers? Do you think it really cares that they're not going to offer native Silicon apps right away?
As long as the web browser works for 90% of people who actually buy this MacBook, it's going to be fine.
Oh, okay.
Right. So I don't really see any harm there, but I don't like being the first test dummy, getting this kind of stuff, but if you want to be the first test dummy, you're more than welcome to.
It's just not going to affect me. I'm not going to buy one of those Macs right now, right? So it just, by the time I even need to get one of those, it'll just be too late. It'll be fixed. So
it'll be fixed. 100%. There's alwa's going to be something. And let's move on to what Tu said. Let's talk about the actual chips. So the actual event. So the actual chip was announced, the M1 chip, they're calling it. this little chip was going to be used in the new MacBook Air and the new MacBook Pro lineup of this year. Essentially, this new M1 chip is an all unified memory architecture. That means that it has the CPU, the GPU, and the RAM all in one, and some other components. This is very different from having basically just a dedicated CPU, dedicated RAM, dedicated GPU separately in one system, right? It's an 8-core, 5 nanometer processor, and it offers faster processing and performance by using everything all in one. Like I said earlier, a unified memory architecture compared to having everything separately. It also touts that it has better power efficiency with higher performance, with 3 times more performance per watts compared to other leading CPUs. And like I said earlier, it's able to run iPad and iPhone's apps natively for the first time instantly. Now, the things they line up for, let me tell you the products they have. They announced the new 13-inch MacBook Pro with the new M1 chip. They announced the new Mac Mini. And they announced the new MacBook Air, right? So these new products all using the new M1 chip, right? So, for the first time, you're having essentially a MacBook Air, a MacBook Mini, and a MacBook Pro using the same processor. Like, there's no... I'm not talking about, like...
That means they should all be similarly priced, right?
No.
Oh, no.
Of course not.
No. So the Mac Mini is starting at $700. The Mac Air is going to start about $1,000. And the MacBook Pro is going to start about $1,300.
Which is ridiculous, honestly, because it's only the 13-inch.
Most of them have also a limit of 16 gigs of RAM, which is insane.
Just 16?
Like upper limit. So you can go higher than 16 gigs RAM.
Look, as long as the chip is high performant enough to actually take advantage of that 16 gigs, I'm okay with it. But knowing that it's the first iteration, the first gen of this chip, no way in hell is it optimized enough.
Yeah.
Those are some of the concerns that people are having right now. But there have been some sort of shocking news, I would say. So new benchmarks have come out for the new M1 chips, right? And at the moment, the M1 chips in the MacBook Air outperforms the high-end 16-inch MacBook Pro from last year. So on a CPU performance, based on single core versus and multi-core, it outbeats the powerful i9 from last year.
That's a lot right there.
That's a lot. That says a lot. So I'm talking about the MacBook Air outperforming a MacBook Pro. It's insane.
It's kind of nuts.
It's definitely crazy. This MacBook Air was only with an 8 gig RAM, and it has a single core of 1687 and a multi-core score of 7433, and it had a 3.2 gigahertz base frequency. To note that the high-end MacBook Pro 16-inch only had a single core score of 1096 and a multi-core 6878. So not hugely different, but it still beat
different
it.
enough.
And that's insane. It's good enough, right? Exactly. It's good enough. You're talking about
Especially for a MacBook Air?
Yeah, this is a MacBook Air. Now, to be fair, the MacBook Air's processor is the same one in the new 13-inch MacBook Pro. The only real difference, if you don't know is that the MacBook Air is fanless. So there's no fans whatsoever. While the MacBook Pro does have fans. So it will throttle with higher temperatures. So that's probably where it gets its limitations. While the MacBook Pro with fans is able to, perform at higher temperatures, so it's able to, throttle higher at higher limits. So that's pretty much, but it's using the same processor, 1-to-1. Even the RAMs are the same. The only real difference between the MacBook Air and the Pro and the Mini is just pretty much external designs. One has no screen, one has a smaller screen, one has the biggest screen. That's pretty much it at this point now. There's no true difference other than that. And I mean, some may argue that it doesn't need to have a difference. If it performs well and it's giving good benchmarks, it's good enough. Some may argue. What do you guys think?
I mean, it's pretty interesting, right? You're gonna have the same chip now running on almost every single platform with similar performance across the board. The only thing I can hope is that Apple like accurately represents pricing based off of the performance of their computers, rather than just trying to shove the same price tags on something.
Yeah, I mean, it is to note that I was expecting a price drop. There really wasn't a price drop. They're still pretty much exactly the same as their previous generation model.
Because your MacBook Air has always been slower than your MacBook Pro, right? And like it's always been priced to account for that. So like if you're gonna have the same performance on both of them now, I mean, I'm expecting the MacBook Pro to not be $1,000 more expensive than the MacBook Air anymore, right? So
well, remember, like I said, they're the same processor, so in theory they can perform the same performance.
Yeah.
But the Air is fanless, so when you have something fanless and it gets to a high enough temperature, it's gonna throttle. The Pro does have fans, so it won't throttle as much. That's pretty much it. But underneath, after that, it's the same processor. So that's pretty much, like I said, what you're pretty much paying for in difference is all external stuff. Fans, screen, and I guess that Pro name. That's pretty much it. And also the battery. That's pretty much in the battery. So, and they both have a limit of only 16 gigs, which is insane because, the previous MacBook iterations can go up to 32 gigs. You cannot do that.
Probably what stopped them from creating iMacs and from other high-end devices, because since they're limited to 16 gigs that could only support that chip right now, they can't really do anything higher end until that's resolved,
That may be part of the thing. It could be that they really think that they don't need the higher end chips. You got to remember that these new processors aren't, I guess, the same class in a way as like Intel AMDs. They have a unified memory architecture, which means that in this processor alone, it has cores dedicated for GPU already, cores dedicated for CPU, and memory allocated for its RAM. So that 16 gig RAM is not even in the chip RAM that it's using. It's a separate additional RAM that it can use. So that's why it's very different from traditional CPUs. It already has technically its own RAM. So so Apple probably just thinks that because it already has its own RAM and its own GPU cores and its CPU cores, it doesn't need to be 32 gigs. It just, the most it needs to be 16, and that's fine. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I guess we shall see.
Mm-hmm.
We shall see. It's very interesting to hear about this, and pretty much, it's gonna be a weird one. I'm really interested to see what Apple does for their high ends, but that's something to wait to see. Anyway. We're almost done. We're pretty much done.
Bonus
wrap it
episode?
Up.
Where is it? The bonus
one? You're going to love this one. It is a tradition. As you guys don't know about me, my favorite holiday is coming up. I love me Black Friday. It is one of my favorite holidays of the year. And it seems like I'm not alone. Because Herman Miller is having a Black Friday sale.
Oh, man. There we go.
Yeah. Woo! That's right. 15% off. All Herman Miller chairs. We're talking about a huge lineup of their categories. Everything on sale. Even the new gaming chair that we talked about multiple times is on sale right now for the first time because of Black Friday. So,
what kind of sale are we talking about here, Nine? Don't get my hopes up.
We're talking about 15% off everything. We're talking about top of the line stuff. Even
15%.
You're talking about a brand that never goes on sale. Finally decided to drop the bucket. We're talking about, and 15% may sound a little, but we're talking about 15% of prices in the thousands. So 15% saving you a couple hundreds. So, if you're a Herman Miller fan, I mean, you got to be if you're watching our podcast. This is the time to buy.
I'm not. It's too expensive.
Not sponsored by Herman Miller, but we'd like to be. Thank you.
We'd like to be Herman Miller. If you're out there, I will do it weekly. No problem. just send me a chair. That will cover the expenses for, I think, 2 years. Anyway, that has been TechCast. Like I said, I was not lying to you guys when I said this was a very tech cram news week.
Also, if you buy a Herman Miller chair, tag us in the post and put it on Instagram. We'd love to see.
Please do.
Make us jealous.
I can be very envious of you. But I guess to answer your question too, I'm just that lucky. The tech world loves me, and I love it.
Yep.
That's the symbolic relationship we have, and it knows you're able. But thank you guys for watching TechCast. I hope you enjoyed our first 45-minute special.
50 minutes actually, but okay.
Oh, whatever.
We went over.
TechCast news doesn't wait. It has to be spread and it has to be shared. But thank you for watching. Don't forget to follow us on all our social medias. You know, like I said, like Forrest says, if you get a Herman Miller chair or anything for Black Friday, let us know. And we'll see you guys next time on TechCast. Goodbye, guys. Take care.
Later.